Happy Devil's Wednesday. This is the State of the Fan Address presented by pucksandpitchforks.com. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with the editor-in-chief, Nick Villano, as we're streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, X Live, Twitch, and now on Instagram Live on the Let's Go Devils Network, talking Devils hockey, talking what happened yesterday at the Sunny Mehta press conference. Learned a lot of stuff. Nick, you said you're going to jump right into it, and I think you should, because I think you have a lot to say about yesterday and moving forward.
I mean, I gotta say, I think he said, I mean, I haven't seen one negative thing about the press conference yesterday. Not one. I wrote an article today because I've been traveling for the past 2 days, so I haven't had time to kind of jump on the press conference, but I wrote an article today about the quote that a lot of people were talking about, and I wanted to get your take on it. So I don't know if you read the article on Pucks, but did you see his take on analytics? Did you see what he said?
Yeah, was that the question that Danielle McCartan asked?
I don't know.
Oh,
to be honest,
okay.
I don't. But it was, it's where he went into like, oh, that's the capital A word, right, or the A word or whatever he said.
Yep.
He's like, and then he kind of jumped into. He talked about how analytics is a tool in his belt. Essentially, is that he used analytics in poker, he used analytics in stock trading, and he used analytics in hockey to, essentially assist with what he's doing. He understands there's emotions to the game. There's people behind these decisions. So, I just felt like it was an interesting answer. I was curious of what your take on that answer was.
That's exactly what I wanted him to say. It wasn't a scripted answer. I honestly,
long answer too.
Well, it was a long. It's look. He Daniel Moya put it out on his X account about a year ago, and I think he reposted it about his ability to communicate. And Nick, off air, you and I have talked, and from day one, I was like, not this guy, not this guy, not this guy, and then suddenly there was a shift. And this is before he was even named GM. And you and I talked about privately where that shift in my mind. Because as you know, I can be convinced. You just got to have great bullet points. And
I'm taking a little bit of credit for your shift, because that shift came right after the podcast where I did the sell job on the Shanahan Mehta pairing, and why I thought that was like idealistic for the Devils.
Actually, you do, but I'll tell you where that turning point was. When you talked about the Tkachuk-Huberdeau, that was analytics. I actually did some digging on that to kind of trust but verify, and there's a lot of truth to that. So that's what once that, you do get credit, because once I started to see,
I don't need all the credit, but a little bit.
Yeah, but it started the fire where I dug in deeper, and also confirming the fact that he's not all data driven. He does know the game very well.
Yeah, and he's a poker guy. I figured that'd be up your alley too. Like, he's a bracelet holder too. World Series of Poker bracelet. I don't know which game it was, but it wasn't the main event. But there's like, people might not know this. The World Series of Poker has like dozens of events, and they all have a bracelet. But again, like you have to be where that's gonna come in is like, and he talked about it. I was a little interested that he was so brazen about it, and there might be some learning curve there. But he essentially said, Like, I need to read people. In poker, I have to read people, and in this, I need to read people. And he was talking about other GMs. He's like, you got to know when you have the advantage. And I think other GMs are going to look at that and be like, you think you're going to win this? Like, let's see. And I think I am curious. Here's where I'm curious. I'm a little concerned that other GMs are going to steer clear of Devils trades because they don't want to, like, trade with the hot new thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why it's been an old boys club for so long, because it's who people trade with. And I'll be honest, Sam, that's why I wanted Shanahan. Shanahan has the connections. And Shanahan has the guys who I'm going to want.
Well, now, I'm going to interrupt you real quick.
Yeah.
Because nobody in the media even went there, like asking about his role. There was one question that may have been, it wasn't direct enough, but I'm just shocked nobody even asked that. I thought that was just going to be an obvious question to even ask.
Somebody asked something. I'm catching up on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Somebody asked something about not having it being why did you choose? They asked Blitzer, why did you choose to go just with Sunny and not with a president? Or I don't know if the specific question, but he did say they decided that a one-person situation made the most sense, like a one decision maker situation, and they decided that was going to be Sunny Mehta.
I thought they were skirting it. You know, I just wanted like actual confirmation, because there was stuff that, he's got dual role, and then but the press release said other. I just want because fans want that. That's the problem.
I don't think he has dual role. I think some of the president of hockey operations tasks will go to him. I think some will go to Jake Reynolds. I think some will go to I think there's going to be people like maybe Blitzer takes on some of them. Who knows?
Well, that makes me concerned. But go on.
But these are like the business level stuff that comes with president of hockey operations. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that role is a paper role like people assume it is. I think there is I think essentially president of hockey operations has a lot of little other things that kind of take your time up. Sometimes. And then sometimes it's Vancouver, where Jim Rutherford is just essentially Mr. Everything, and Patrick Alvin was there for show, basically. I'm curious what's next. So obviously you have Kate Madigan as the AGM. You have Dan McKinnon as AGM. I think McKinnon's out. McKinnon was Fitz's guy. Fitz tried to do for McKinnon what Sherrow did for Fitz, where he tried to lift him up to a point where he was, ready to become a GM himself, and he wanted Madigan to stick around in New Jersey and possibly become the GM here. That obviously didn't work out. Those were I really look at the whole situation. I think Tom Fitzgerald's trying to do too many things, and just I don't know if I want to say he was in over his head, because I don't know if that's the right term, but he just clearly he changed what he was trying to do after Carolina. That's clear. After 2023, and I've said this, Sam. I've said this till I'm blue in the face. I feel like I'm talking to a wall. But the Devils played on 1 day's rest after beating their rivalry in a 7-game emotional, physical series. And they played Carolina, who was on 5 days rest after a nothing series against Washington. That's why the Devils lost. Do I think they were the better team that year? It really just depends on which goalie you got, right? If you got Akira Schmid from the Rangers series, I do. I think they win that series. Unfortunately, everybody was tired. Everybody was emotional. Everybody was kind of like it was set up for a letdown. They should have changed nothing that year. There was going to be change because Burnett was going to get a head coaching job. So there was going to be some change. But you could have got a guy who was as good as Burnett. This is a young team, and guys on this team were getting head coaching jobs. So you could have got somebody. But who did they replace him with? It was Green, Travis Green.
Yeah.
Who's doing really good in Ottawa.
Everybody's doing well except for the New Jersey Devils.
Here's the thing. Let's just talk about the coach because I think that's important. Obviously, everybody's getting evaluated. I think Sunny Mehta's going to look at it and say, I can keep Keefe for a year. He's going to be on the hottest seat. I don't think that's going to change the way he goes about it. Because Sheldon has some power that he has 3 more years on his contract. So if they fire him, it's not like he's going to the unemployment line. You know, his health insurance could be paid for. He's going to be fine. But then you got to look at who's available. Cassidy's available. That's the name that's intriguing. But he's another guy that might be like, I'm trying to think of like a Tortorella or what are these guys, like a Babcock Babcock's a bad example, but like a Tortorella who isn't problematic, but just has or DeBoer. DeBoer's a good example, which is you just have a shelf life. Everybody's happy the first year you're there. You can win a cup the first year you're there. But then, it starts to the second year it starts to grind a little more if you don't get it. The third year it really grinds, and then the fourth year it's usually fiery. So, I wouldn't hate the idea of replacing Keefe with Cassidy, but I think all signs point to Keefe sticking around for another year. Is that the right decision? If I'm Sunny Mehta, I have to ask myself if I'm ready for a really hard conversation. Because I still think that Sheldon Keefe is a good coach. He lost the locker room in the middle of the season. Completely. And couldn't get it back until they all had 3 weeks away from each other. His name is Mehta.
That's how it was pronounced during the.
I've seen 4 different ways, so I
was going by Matt Lachlan. That's. So I guess we're all confused now.
I've seen Mehta. I've seen Mehta. I've never seen Mehta, but I'll take your word.
Well, that's where I was. You went from. You were Met. I was going May.
I know, I understand, but I've seen that as well. The people in Florida call him that. So again, it might be a situation where he just hasn't fixed it. But I'll go with yours. We'll go with Mehta. Mehta?
Close enough.
All right. Yeah, I think Keefe is here. I think he's sticking around. All signs point to Sheldon Keefe being the New Jersey Devils head coach, and that's fine. But if I'm Sunny Mehta, I'm looking at him and saying you got to buy in more than you have, because, and I see people calling people out and saying like, oh, it's not fair to call. Like, whatever deal you have with Fitz has to be thrown out. You can't be flying back to Toronto. I'm sorry. Family is the most important thing. But you have to decide if you're willing to make the sacrifice that comes with being a millionaire and being a head coach of a hockey team. And I could guarantee you no other coach is flying back once a week. flying away from their team once a week, let alone twice or 3 times a week. You know what I mean? And like that's draining. It's draining to do the travel with the team and then also travel to Toronto all those times. You know, it's such a personal thing. I just traveled for work and then came home to kids and Sam, I'm exhausted. And I'm not a hockey coach. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just seems like it's an untenable situation that came to a head this year. It seemed like it came to a head last year too. The season before, in the middle of the season, where he couldn't get them out of a slump. This is 2 years in a row that I've seen this coach start off hot, completely unable to get them out of a slump, and then, you know, they get hot at some point, but there's always injuries at that point, right? Because it's the end of the season. And, you know, I'm glad they got the 1 win against Carolina in 2025 because that would have sucked to end the no sweep streak. That's something that's important to me. But, yeah, I mean, are you happy that Keith is going to stay?
Has it been confirmed? I think they're just going through evaluations right now. You know.
Okay. He was there.
Well, that doesn't mean anything. I mean, Sunny just got to New Jersey. You know, again.
I think ownership wouldn't have invited him. That's my personal opinion.
You make a good point there. But at the same again, and see, this is now I'm starting to get I'm starting to get mad right now because I think the same problems are going to repeat itself with Sunny, like with Tom Fitzgerald. You just hit it right, like the owner's this, owner's that. I think that was part of the problem this entire time. If you look at the history of all these GMs, coaches, players that come through the New Jersey Devils and they leave, suddenly they don't have these problems. And I've said all along, I've been suspicious all along that this ownership group has their hand in everything that goes on. And you posed the question of Kate Madigan and Dan McKinnon. You know, is it really Sonny's decision to keep him there, or is it not? I'm curious.
I think his staff he'll have decision-making power on. Coach is just a different thing, and there's a lot of money on the line. There's weirdly less money on the line for Madigan and sorry, I didn't mean to hit that. For Madigan and McKinnon, I think McKinnon's gone personally. I think McKinnon. There might be maybe there's a handshake agreement that McKinnon's going to follow.
But why is Madigan on this team in the first place? Like, what's her role?
I mean, she's AGM.
She's AGM, but like, how'd she get to this role? You know, if I were Sunny Mehta, I want my own people. Wouldn't you say?
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I think
that's just normal approach. Now, in terms of Sheldon Keefe, you know that you made a point. I mean, it's not like he can't get a job in the NHL. So I'm sure there's in that contract, you know, if he were to go to another team and all that, you know, the Devils are kind of off the hook unless they have to subsidize some of it because his contract was less. But, you know, again, you know what? I think what's going to happen, because Sonny idolized, in some ways, Lou Lamoriello, I think he's going to be a hard GM to read. And I think right now, you know, right now it's the honeymoon stage with Sonny, but I'm seeing like the same issues starting like from the last regime. You know, does he truly have full autonomy on this team?
So just on the Kate Madigan point, because I looked it up because I was curious. I don't I don't know why she got the promotions that she did. I'd have to look really into it, but it's
We could trade notes off air. I have some of it.
I'm
But
not yeah, this isn't where I'm worried. I might get a phone call for this, and that's okay. So she before she worked for the Devils, she worked at Deloitte, where she worked in audit, and then she jumped to hockey and she became an assistant video scout, coach, whatever, in the video department. It took her 2 years to go from that to director of pro scouting operations. And then 11 months after that, she was executive director of hockey management. And then 2 years after that, she was AGM. I don't understand the background there. And again, people are impressive in roles. I'm not trying to question it. And I'm being really careful about it because I understand the connotation. That's not what I'm trying to connotate. I'm confused based on this progression. How you make those kind. That's like.
well, because
let's
let's generally speaking, Nick, a lot of people spend a lifetime to even get that role, and the direction that New Jersey Devils. I wish I knew the background on it, but was it ownership's decision or was it Tom Fitzgerald's decision to promote her and to bring her
I think
up?
Fitzgerald was.
Was he the solely one, or was it joint decision? All that. Also,
I think Fitzgerald was huge in Madigan. I think he was really behind her and what she brought. But she's got like a master's in accounting. She graduated from college the same year as me.
But never played ice hockey. That's again. That's what I'm looking at. Again, but we're talking about.
I mean, she was a track and field athlete. It's not like she wasn't an athlete. She's a track and field athlete.
Yeah, that's fine, but I mean, if anybody, I think Ellen Hughes would have a better chance of getting that position than her. It's just again, there's a lot of confusion here, and there's a lot of misdirection. A lot of these hirings that Tom Fitzgerald have, and again, I go back. Did Tom Fitzgerald even have full autonomy of this team? Were the things coming from above that he had to implement, and of course the owners have the last say on everything, which is, that's the way it should be. But, again, there's a lot of things that I had questions about. Does Sunny really have full autonomy? I'm not questioning the Sunny hire at all, but if it's just going to be the same old record again, we've seen this fool's gold before, Nick. That's all I'm saying. And normally when a new GM comes in, he cleans house. Things are not working in New Jersey. They're not. And he's supposed to fix it, but is he going to have full autonomy to fix the situation? What about the goalie coach as well? I'm surprised he's still here, to be honest. Just based on Jacob Markstrom this past season, and who was choosing, the goalies? Who was the end decision maker if Markstrom goes in net or not?
I think you're going down the rabbit hole a little bit. Just goalie decisions was Keefe's. Was there might have been a narrative that Fitzgerald wanted Markstrom to play like a starter. You know what I mean? Maybe that was in the back of his mind, and I do think Fitzgerald was overbearing. That's not the right word, though. I think he had his finger on the pulse of the coaching side. And I think that he had more of a say than most general managers. I'll say that. And I didn't like it. I think a lot of what you saw this year, it wasn't Keefe's system. It didn't make sense. So with that in mind, like it I don't know. I just think I'm curious. I want to give Keefe another year because I really liked him when they hired him. The reasons I don't like him can be fixed. It's not scheme. It's not, showing up for big games. But it's controlling the personalities. And, like, this is the first year I was like, I don't like a lot of what I'm seeing from Nico. Just like, I think Nico like lost something this year. Something you can get back, but there's just like a lack of passion that I didn't love. And I'm not trying to like rag on him. It wasn't just him, but it was. You should be the last guy that's down in the dumps. You know what I mean? And I just think he has to come in here. He needs to commit. You got to commit to the team, even if it's a 3-year deal. I'd be fine with that. Be like, I want to see the direction. Give me a 3-year deal, $9 million, whatever it is. And then we'll reassess this when I'm 29. I'm fine with that. I just need a commitment. I know you're going to lose out in the 8-year deal. I'm fine with it. It is what it is. There's a lot going on here. But if he doesn't commit, the problem is that same thing with Keefe. Who are you going to replace him with? And that's where you start to have hard questions. I think there are replacements out there, but we're talking about analytics as a tool. I think the Devils still need a third-line center. I think Cody Glass is a fourth-line center.
Agreed.
And I've had a lot of people tell me I'm crazy. I think he's a fourth-line center. He shot like 18% this year. That's going to go down to 12 at best. And I still think he's a good player. I want Cody Glass. I'd be happy if they extended Cody Glass this year.
Oh yeah,
for a reasonable number.
I mean, he's your depth. He's your depth guy. When you're rolling 4 lines, you want Cody Glass on the 4th line. I feel more comfortable with him there. It's not that he's like the 4th best center. That's not what it's all about. It's just playing that role. And he had nearly 20 goals this season. So without being on the power play.
I think the Devils have a chance to be really smart about rolling 4 lines because that's where Sunny Mehta was at his best in Florida, right? He found those Jesper Boquists and the Noseks and the guys who really fit, right? The guys who fit in that role.
That's another guy, Boquist. Again, when they leave the Devils, suddenly like Zacha, and that's where
I think Zacha still sucks, but.
He was doing a lot better than it was in New Jersey.
I mean, but again, I think that's just Pasternak. I think Pasternak lifts him up by his bootstraps. I think you get a better center there, and like look how much better, it's.
Look at John Marino right now. Somebody's in the playoffs.
I mean,
but anyway, we're getting off.
Did they have less points than the Devils?
What
No,
Utah?
I think they had more points than the Devils, but they had fewer points than a couple of these teams that missed. I know that. Here's the thing. I hear you. Like going back to the ownership's going to have too much of a role. I get it. I do. I think you're underestimating how much ownership has a role on every team. You can count on one hand how many owners aren't into the day-to-day hockey operations. Like, you look at Tom Dundon in Carolina.
Or even James Dolan, for that matter.
Right,
He could be ridiculous.
Right, but I'm going somewhere with this. Like,
okay.
So Tom Dundon just bought the Blazers, right? And apparently, he's removing fan engagement opportunities. He's not giving out T-shirts for the playoffs. He's not allowing them to put towels on seats. Like, that's hockey operations stuff. Like that, but that's like business level stuff. And apparently, like, he's so cheap that he's not allowing him to do it. And that's Carolina. That's the best team in the league. You know what I mean? Or not in the league, but like, one of the top teams every year. And it's because he puts hockey people in place, and he makes decisions around that. Like, he doesn't allow Carolina to go crazy with the contracts. Like, they don't have a $10 million contract, right? Because Aho's not, Slavin's not. So, they're going cheap for a lot of guys. They really like Nason there, and he went to the Devils because the Devils paid up. They're spending their money how they spend their money. I think owners are in it in one way or the other, including Blitzer. So I'm not that worried like you are. I don't think that they're into, like, I think they would not let them trade Hughes, things like that. You know what I mean? Like, you can't trade the marketing situation there. I think that, but I think, like, besides that, like, something that level, I do think that they removed decision-making power from Fitz. I think that at some point they're like, you're a lame duck. Like, we'll reevaluate this at the end of the season, but you can't make trades. There was a report that came out this week that from Elliot Friedman that Fitzgerald had 2 trades voided at the trade deadline. He didn't say who voided them. The way it was written allowed you to fill in the blanks, and I think Friedman wrote it so that the fans would think that the players voided them, right, with their no trade clauses.
To protect the owner.
Void is an interesting term, right?
Yeah.
I would think that you block a trade with your no trade clause. Because void means that, like, we're good, we're going. And then something in the process stopped it. Once you get to the void stage, I feel like the clauses have already been handled.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, I mean, again, it's gonna. I feel we're gonna get a harder read on Sunny, but I'll be looking very, very closely on a lot of these decision making. Because a lot of things just didn't make sense under Fitzgerald, and even how the late Ray Shero left the team. A lot of stuff, I wish I was a fly on the wall. But just reading between the lines, again, I'm not trying to be negative here, but, I was fully expecting to have a dual role. Yeah, not dual role, having a president of hockey ops and Sunny. And when they hired Sunny first, I thought to myself, well, okay, shouldn't the big guy hire, meaning the president of hockey ops, do that? But if it's going to be the same organizational structure as it has been, again, me personally, I don't trust David Blitzer at all. If he's going to be the one overseeing, Sunny. And again, I think the same problems, maybe not in the first couple years or 3 years, but I think the same problems are going to happen again.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. I was really hoping that, again.
So you think they're just going to waste the Jack Hughes era completely?
I think they're going to try. I'm not questioning the effort here.
But if the same thing happens, then that's what it is. That's a generational fumble.
Yeah,
that is the worst fumble in hockey. There's no player in hockey as talented as Hughes that will have, like, say they go 1 for 4, 1 playoffs in the next 4 seasons. There will never be a star. I'm trying to think, like Ginla, because they had trouble, but they still made the playoffs, like, enough.
Well, you know what? Right now it's April 22nd, 2026. I'm going to save this episode. I'm going to call it right now. History's going to repeat itself if he does not have full autonomy on this team. I'm not saying you don't report to the owners, but, again, there's a lot of decision making, with player development, everything.
I think he's a pretty convincing guy, too.
I will say that. And maybe Blitzer's feeling the heat from the fans when they look at season ticket renewals,
I mean, maybe, but I think the Sunny thing got people excited again.
Well, yeah.
We'll see if that leads to dollars, but I don't know. You have to figure out the post. Have you heard anybody change their mind? Because I know a lot of people said they're not renewing. Has anybody changed their mind with the Sunny hire?
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
yeah, I feel like we're not around the fans enough right now.
Yeah, not really. But I think Jack Hughes scoring that golden goal helped along with things.
See, I heard it didn't help as much as they thought. They thought they were going to ride that all. They thought they were going to ride that all season, and it gave them like 2 weeks.
Wait, what did you hear?
I heard that the Devils front office felt like the Jack Hughes golden goal was like a marketing gold mine, and they would be, they were going to make millions and millions of dollars in ticket sales and merch and things like that.
Oh, they're out of their mind. I'm just talking renewals. I'm not talking about new, renewals.
Right, but it didn't lead to renewals. It didn't. It didn't lead to renewals. It didn't lead to ticket sales at the end of the season.
From what
to the level that they expected.
The people I talked to renewed right afterwards.
Right, you got that initial week bump.
And that was it. That's what I'm referring to. I wasn't referring like they're sold out. No, there's a reason why Fitzgerald's out. There's a reason why Mehta's in. And there's, and they made those changes. Now, again, I'm going to go back to, who's in charge.
I will say, I am curious if we're sitting here. I think they did, but I am curious that Nashville job's not open. If Fitzgerald would have pushed his luck. But I wrote about this. I think I talked about it last week on the podcast. I wrote about it last week. I don't think he's getting the job. I think Barry Trout's going to pull the rug out from under him,
like he always does.
We always have that friend who, like, eventually the glass breaks. You're like, you're not really my friend, are you?
Oh yeah, it's the friend that
Charles going to have that realization.
Yeah, it's always a friend that says, "Hey, let's hang out," but you never hang out.
No, this is the friend that's like, hey, let's go out to dinner. I'd be like, man, I forgot my wallet.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
That's Barry
That's
Trout's
the
Thomas
kind of
Fitzgerald.
crap I pulled on Mrs. Wu when we were dating. You know.
Or no, it's even worse. It's be like, yo, man, like, let's go. I got tickets to Metallica this weekend, and like he just always lies. He just thinks he's gonna get out of it, or he's gonna pull it out of his butt, or somebody's gonna help him.
And Tommy is just so gullible every single time.
He's the Carl of this for those Summer House fans.
Yeah.
Carl's not okay. Tom Fitzgerald's not okay.
Well, again, I'm going to stick to my guns on it. And, one thing I want to point out, watching the Buffalo Sabres, for many years, and again, I don't know what's wrong with the Devils and their quote-unquote beefalytics, where it's so inconsistent, where 1 week they're fighting everybody and the next 3 weeks are so soft. But watching the Buffalo...
I think it's dejected, but anyway.
Well, watching the Buffalo Sabres and Lindy Ruff, and I'm thinking to myself, where was that in New Jersey?
I'm calling BS. I'm calling BS on that. I'm calling BS on you right now. That Rangers series was as tough as they come. They beat the Rangers because they got into Igor Shesterkin's head because they were all over him. I'm calling BS on that.
And then they fell flat. They fell flat against Carolina.
They had 1 day rest.
Carolina bullied them like no other
because they had 1 day rest.
How about this season? The Devils led the
right. This season they led
in penalties in the first week of the season. Everything's successful, and suddenly, we can't fight anymore.
Right, because the coach has trouble getting this team motivated. That's where I'm at with that. But playoff hockey is a different beast, and everybody gets up for it. The Devils have trouble getting up and staying up for 82 games, and that's on the coach to get them up for 82 games and find ways to keep them motivated, find ways to keep them excited, find ways to keep them
It almost
engaged.
Seems like somebody sent an inter-office email, no more fighting. That's what it feels like. Those are my conspiracy theories.
The team was dejected for 2 months. They were fighting at the end of the season. When they were winning, they were fighting people. They were
when it didn't matter. When it didn't matter.
But that's when you would think they would stop fighting. You know what I mean? But I will.
They're all playing for contracts and jobs.
Timo Meier is as tough as they come on this team, and he's a necessary cog if that's what you want. If you want that Brady Tkachuk type, Timo Meier's that Brady Tkachuk type. They haven't figured out how to unlock him offensively, but he's doing everything else. He's creating chances. He's getting himself into scoring areas. He's hitting people. He's in the middle of brawls. He's making goalies mad. He's doing all those things. I think you need another guy like that. The problem is now you're kind of hamstrung because I don't think Lenny Haminaho is like that. You could train LeChance to be like that. They were high on LeChance, but he wasn't ready for the NHL. If you train him to be that guy, like a rough and tumble, in your face nose guy, but they got Nason. Nason's that guy. Nason will fight a guy. Nason will get under a guy's skin. He'll hit somebody hard. Do you know what the issue is, Sam?
What's that?
Your defensemen are not that. You got Dylan. That's it. Siegenthaler doesn't do that. Kovacevic doesn't do that. Luke Hughes, he's got an attitude like a rich kid. You know what I mean? He'll fight somebody, but from a place of privilege. So but again, Nemitz doesn't do that at all. At all. And then Pesci will, but it's not his game. And then Hamilton doesn't.
But you know what's funny? You know what's funny when you say all this? They're a lot different, some of the players, when they were on other teams. But when they come to the Devils, They become softies.
Is Marino fighting people?
Marino's pretty tough. He's
But he
pretty
didn't
tough.
fight anybody here. He didn't fight a soul here.
Yeah, he did. He was in that line brawl.
Oh, that's right. But that was like a one-time thing, and he got demolished.
I didn't think
No
he got
offense.
demolished. I don't think he got demolished.
I think he got demolished.
Well, everybody says he got demolished, but actually, when you go back, I'll go back to I wish I can play the film on here because I think
I would like to see it
because I think everybody
remember-
saw this one camera angle where it looked like he got demolished, but I saw a
He was
couple
facing
other angles.
Miller, right?
I didn't think.
He
I
lost
didn't
to
Conjure Miller. Yeah, and that's a heavyweight. That's a heavyweight.
I mean, listen, like, what's his face? Nico Hischier fought Matthew Nyes. It was not a fair fight, and he lost. But I think it means something to get into those fights. You'd want them to hang in there a little bit more, but here's the thing.
I'm a little biased with Marino, so I'm going to defend him. But
Well, then let me ask you this. Do you want McEwen back?
yeah,
I want McEwen back. I think he was a perfect fit. I want him back. He's a guy, like, you can have a conversation with him and be like, you're 13th. You're gonna get in many nights, but sometimes not. I don't want to be straight up McDermott, where you're just like, you're in there to fight. Like, because he's not. He's a skilled player. But he brings that toughness. He's a hard-nosed guy. I think he's good for this team. I want them to resign McDermott. I'm playing the roster in my head. Well, did I send you the roster I built, Sam, and all the trades?
yes,
I made?
you did. Yes, you did.
I really like that roster. And you could add McEwen. You had enough money, I think, or you'd have to like move some like AHL guys around, but you could have made the money work to get McEwen on there. So for the people at home, essentially, everyone knows that I traded for Shane Wright. That's like the number one thing that I'm doing this year. I had to find it now because we've been talking about your journey.
What? NJ.com?
Yes. I don't know if all these texts.
I don't know if I'm even allowed to talk about it because when I submitted my resume and all that, then there's this like the confidentiality part that I had to sign off on. I was like, I could talk about it, can't I? I just can't talk about what we talk about, meaning if I were to get an interview, but I could say that I applied.
Yeah.
That's
So
all.
here's where I'm
saying.
at.
Yeah.
These are my lines. First line is Timo Meyer, Nico Hischier, and Ryan O'Reilly. Second line is Jesper Bratt, Jack Hughes, and Connor Brown. Third line is Shane LaChance, Shane Wright, Arseny Gritzik. Fourth line is Paul Cotter, Cody Glass, Stefan Nason. And then you'd have Zach McEwen and or Mark McLaughlin as that 13th forward. I think both of them would be good at that role. On defense, you have Quinn Hughes and Dougie Hamilton. Luke Hughes and Brett Pesci.
So you're keeping Dougie.
What?
You're keeping Dougie.
yeah.
Okay.
And again, you can make it Pesci and Quinn Hughes. And then, so I have Brendan Dillon and Timothy Liljegren. I have Seamus Casey as your extra. I'm fine if you put Casey in that Liljegren spot, but I like Liljegren for like a cheap try him out. And then I have Connor Hellebuck and Jake Allen as my goalies. I'll go through the transactions I made real quick, just very quickly.
Yep.
I signed Gritzik to a 5x5. I think it's a slight overpay now, but I think it's going to be a good contract in years. And he might want more, but I'm trading Dawson Mercer and a pick for Shane Wright. You probably have to add like another prospect to that, but I'm okay with that. Connor Hellebuck, you're trading this year's first-round pick for him. And then you're attaching whatever you need to get Jacob Markstrom there. So you're trading the 11th overall pick or whatever it is to get Hellebuck here. And then if you have to attach you know, say it's Silyev. I'd be fine if you're trading Silyev, Markstrom, and a first for Hellebuck. Fine.
That's instant credibility for the next 3 years for the New Jersey Devils in terms of goaltending.
It hurts, but it's fine. I'm fine with it. For Quinn Hughes, I'm trading Nemitz, Bustad, Haminaho, and the 2027 first-round pick. You might have to add one more piece, but with only 1 more year left on the contract, I was like, eh. I'm trading Jonas Siegenthaler to Colorado for any pick, second or third rounder, something like that. I think that's the kind of guy that Colorado really desires. Guy in a long-term cheap contract with a lot of NHL experience. For Ryan O'Reilly, I traded Ethan Edwards, Jonathan Kovacevic, Trent Bennett, and a pick. That one might be light, but I think you can move some pieces around and make that work. But the money works. That's the most important part. The issue with Kovacevic is you have to get him to waive his no trade clause, but Nashville's a no tax state. I think he'd be down for that. If Fitzgerald goes there, it's the guy who believed in him against the guy who doesn't believe in him. I think there's value there. And I think Fitzgerald buys into guys. And he's bought into Kovacevic. I think he'll think like, oh, I'll get this guy at a discount because or not even a discount, like I'll just get him as a throw in.
How about this? We trade Markstrom for O'Reilly. Since if Fitzgerald's there, he could take on that 2-year extension. I'm just joking, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, would you trade Saros for Markstrom straight up?
In a heartbeat.
Okay. Saros is a long contract.
Yeah, but you can eventually trade Saros after, if he sucks.
Okay. I think I would too, but I was just curious. Yeah, I think that team, that's a cup contender. You need some things to go right. Right, you need Kovacevic to waive. You need Markstrom to not put Winnipeg on his list. You need, I think Siegenthaler has trade protection. You need him to waive. You need people to buy into the pieces that you're selling to them. But I think you can make all those deals work. And if it's not O'Reilly, listen, there's other guys that I would take. Obviously, I would take Kyrou in St. Louis. I would take, maybe it's the Matthew Knight trade, but I really think the Matthew Knight trade, and I wrote about this week, I think Matthew Knight is off the table. I think it's done. Let me just, both GMs are out from that trade. Both were in a desperate place and willing to give up big pieces. I think Knight is off the table from Toronto's point of view. I think they're just going to hold on to him. So I don't think Knight is going to be it, but, if it's Jason Robertson, he's really expensive, though. So that the money, I don't think works. You got to pay him a lot of money after this. I'm trying to think of who else could be. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah. And listen, this report from Friedman about how Quinn Hughes was kind of split in the locker room, those are the types of things I need a coach to just put an end to. And I think Fitz did a bad job. I think there was a chance that this could have turned into like a Bronx Zoo level disaster if Jack Hughes doesn't score the golden goal.
Yeah, I agree.
But, he scored the golden goal. Everybody was so happy for him. That was the narrative coming back. Everybody was in a good mood. Everybody was come back from vacation, and their guy just won the Olympics, so nobody was being selfish. I think it all worked out. But anyway, it's 9:30. I think we're there.
Could we got a super chat and a question before we do plugs. Okay. Select a Boy says, is it possible for the Devils to play a balanced style of hockey, or would it still be a rushing gun style?
I think they tried to balance that hockey this year and didn't work. It
I
doesn't
agree.
look like it on paper just because those guys are super skilled. But that when you take the guys that they have and put them in a balanced style of hockey, that's when you get things like you can't get the puck out of the defensive zone. They need the running gun. They need to rush and move and keep the puck, going. I don't think Fitzgerald knew how to build a balanced team. Maybe Meta's better, but you need the system to work. And whatever was happening, like Sam, I've never I think it was 23-24, where they had similar problems where they couldn't get the puck out of the zone. This was extreme. This year was unlike anything I've seen in covering hockey for more than a decade and watching Devils hockey for more than 30 years. I've never seen a team that couldn't get the puck out of the zone like this. And that's what's happened when you take a rush team and make them balanced. I think you just need to make them good at what they're good at. And once the playoffs come, you want them to throw something at teams that they're not expecting. That's how a rush team wins in the playoffs. You don't play like you did for 82 games in the regular season. You throw something different at them. Whether that's you had a dump and rush element where you throw the puck down the what I would do if I was the Devils is I would do a dump and rush, not a dump and chase. I'm throwing the puck down the ice, and then I'm choo-choo training down the ice, and I'm willing to, send a receipt and hit some guy right in the chest going after that puck. Because then I want you to think about it when I dump it the next time. But only in the playoffs. I'm not talking. This isn't something to do in the regular season. This is your surprise element. But yeah, I think there's things that you do. You have to go back to the rush offense, the rush system, because that's when you were at your best at zone exits, and you need zone exits if you're going to win next year. This team was so bad at it, and honestly, Sam, I think it lost them 3 or 4 games. Just the inability to get the puck out of the zone. Might be more, but I'm trying to be conservative.
All right. Plugs?
Bucks and pitchforks.com. Well, first I want to plug fansite.com. I got draft stuff up, Sam. The draft is tomorrow. And I got draft stuff beforehand. Tomorrow, we're going to be publishing the 10 worst first overall picks of all time. Going back to the 50s to find this.
NFL draft or NHL draft?
Yeah, tomorrow's the NFL draft.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I already have some analysis of some guys who I think are going to go too high. And that includes Cardell Tate. I know a lot of you Giants fans are big on Cardell Tate. I don't like him.
Nope. Not me.
I don't like him. But then pucksandpitchforks.com, I'm going hard in the paint, man. We are going hard in the paint on off-season stuff. I still got to do player grades. I'm late on them. I apologize to everybody. Been traveling and it's just been a lot, but I'm going to do player grades for the year. I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about Keefe tonight. The Keefe article is going up tonight, and then we're going to do. I got to do the 10 worst first overall picks. So that's going up tomorrow. Oh, and go read my story about the analytics. What's up right now?
All right. Well, I got the morning woo tomorrow, and also trying to figure out how to do this. We're going to do a Mets trip this summer. I'm thinking June 14th could be a good day. So I got to run some dates by some people, but where we all gather together, go on the 7 line together, do kind of an outing Let's Go Devils podcast. So we'll be doing that. So, but all right. Well, thank you, Nick. Thank you to all those tuning in. You go to pucksandpitchforks.com. Dropping the podcast in about 20 minutes as the Let's Go Devils podcast continues at pucksandpitchforks.com. Well, thank you. And till next time, let's go Devils.